All right, thank you all for coming. We have some amazing speakers with really deep industry insights into artificial intelligence, especially at the enterprise scale. I'm excited for what they're going to share. Before we get started, I know we kind of hand invited a lot of people tonight. I'm curious, either who's a startup? Anybody a startup? All right, probably about 30%, 40%. Of the startup founders who used to work at an enterprise in the past, like 18 months, maybe 2 years. Adam, one in the back. Okay. Adam, I'm assuming you might have saw a problem that you wanted to solve with AI. Yeah. And then who's at enterprise? Who might be at a large enterprise here tonight? Well, I know, I know you are. A few others in the back. Nice. Okay. Well, before we get started, I wanted to go ahead and call a few of our sponsors up to share what they're doing and what they're all about. Bhaskar, since you're the closest, do you want to come up and say a few words?
Thank you, Christopher, and thank you, Pablo, for the opportunity. So we are a technology services company. Company name is Quadrant Technologies. This is the Quadrant. So we do a lot of services. I mean, SOW work and staffing. We are a cloud data and AI company. And thanks, Pablo and Christopher, for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Bhaskar. If you have any super hard technical problems and need help, Bhaskar's team is absolutely the one to solve it. Please reach out to them. They're a great technical partner for the community. The other sponsor tonight is Talent Reach. Talent Reach is actually placing some amazing employees at a lot of the companies in the area. If you're looking for talent and you don't know where to go, please reach out to Talent Reach. They're a great resource. I'm excited to call up our speakers. As you can see, we have some amazing speakers this evening with a lot of really good insights, maybe some tough questions that Pablo might have wrote. Yeah. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Pablo.
Thank you so much. Give Christopher a hand. Yeah, super excited to kick this off, and also want to give a special shout out to our ecosystem partner here, Fenwick and West. Ryan McRoberts was here earlier. I think he had to go, but they've been a great supporter of ours, and they're doing great work here supporting local startups as well. So let's go ahead and call up our panel. We've got an interesting layout here. I guess I will position myself over here, and we'll go ahead and introduce each of you guys. So Yucheng, Gerson, and Anoop, if you guys could come up. All right, so first off, I think that we should start off by just letting you guys know who we have up here on the stage. So maybe you guys could start by introducing yourselves, what you did previously to get to the point you're at, and then what your current role is.
Sure. So my name is Anoop Gopinatha. I'm based out of Seattle. I lead Accenture's global Microsoft AI practice, which means I lead all the AI work that Accenture does on the Microsoft stack. So like copilots, agents, all the fancy new things that Microsoft keeps doing, keeps us busy. Prior to this, I worked at Starbucks. I built the Starbucks app. So if you guys have a Starbucks app, you hate it, you can blame me. So the personalization, so that app actually does a lot of things under the covers. It uses a very interesting algorithm in the back that some of the teams I work with built. It's called Deep Brew. It's public information now. So that's what I did before Accenture. And then prior to that, I was at Oracle. I did a few things there, worked on Fusion middleware a long time ago, doing system integration. And yeah, so I have a mechanical engineering degree. I'm a self-taught computer programmer. Did Java coding a long time back. And I've been doing this for 25 years. And the fact that I get to play with new tech, LLMs, new AI, ML, new SLMs, all these fancy new things that Microsoft keeps building keeps me excited and keeps me going. And I love what I do, even though it's stressful sometimes. That's me. That's my story.
All right. I'm Gerson Rodriguez, and I work at Oracle. I lead AI strategy for our NetSuite product, and I'm part of the AI console for a global AI console for Oracle. So everything that has to do with agents, infrastructure, new acquisitions, and development of new technology on the area, services, for enterprises and governments around the world. I'm involved with that. I've been in Oracle for 10 years. Before that, my previous life was an enterprise. I'm a computer science major. I used to say that I was a developer, and now I see some of the stuff that kids are building, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm going back, and I'm just say that I was a developer at some point, but I still dab into code, especially Python now. What else? I used to lead product management and data science for Oracle NetSuite before moving into a higher layer on the strategy side. So still close to the technology. What am I doing now? That is my interest is agents and also humanoids robotics. We are involved on some projects of that on the enterprise. So that's something that is driving a bit of our strategy as well.
Hi, I'm Yucheng. I'm currently at Hugging Face. Background, I have a PhD in machine learning from Carnegie Mellon. That was before it got rebranded as AI. I had as chief architect. I moved here a while back at a startup with my PhD advisor. It was called Graph Lab. We renamed twice to Dato and then Turi. Great. We had Turi for all of 2 months. Great story over beer. And we got acquired by Apple in I think that's about 2016. At 2016, we built up machine learning infrastructure at Apple. Eventually, grew to become the machine learning platform team. I worked on storage infrastructure. And later on some parts of the kind of machine learning stack that runs on your phone. And a few years ago, left Apple. Started kind of pretty much another machine learning infrastructure company, XetData. We're dealing with how do you store and manage versioned data, evolving data, right? And about 6-7 months ago, we got acquired by Hugging Face, and we are currently working to deploy our technology inside Hugging Face. You might have seen some blog posts where we have actually migrated about 5% of Hugging Face's traffic to our storage, and we will see more over the next few months.
Awesome. So things right now are developing very, very quickly. And in some ways, you guys are at the forefront of a lot of it and seeing things that maybe a lot of people are not seeing. So I thought a good way to start this would be to have you guys share maybe the latest advancements and updates that you've been seeing in AI infrastructure, and machine learning.
Okay, I will get started. It's a difficult question. I mean, it's partly predicting the future a little bit. You know, what's new and maybe what's trending. I think the two big things is in my opinion, I think is how the future of the transformer model, right? I think I feel like we have milked transformer quite far, right? But I think that we'll have to be there will have to be new advancements to get it to bigger context, better memory, and things like that. And whether that is going to be a mixture of experts or whether there's going to be this new text diffusion thing, that will be time will tell, right? So we have no idea where that's going. And of course, another one I think is really cool is all the robotic space, right? Action models to have actually how do you have models that can take in image, audio, and actually perform actions in the real world. I think all that is very, very exciting.
Yeah, robotics. It's a big topic. Pablo, we have talked about it. Maybe it's not that accessible to the public, but it's moving really fast. It's moving fast in terms of the technology itself, the interfaces with the world, and the interfaces with the real manifestation of intelligence, like vision and understanding and motion. Very, very important that. And it's moving fast for the enterprise in areas that we already know, like managing warehouses, managing shipping, and now it's moving a bit into more directly into defense and the military, and that's the space, that is space. So I think in the next couple of years we'll start seeing a lot of that more accessible to the public, especially because the bankers now are putting their eyes on that, and the idea that it will be good to have a robot on every American home, because it will provide a bridge to a nice 30-year loan that then can create other things. So instead of buying houses, people are going to start buying robots, and bankers are going to make money on it. So you will see a lot of that coming into live soon. And for those of you who might be surprised, every time I go on one of those things and I ask, if you have a robot, what will you have it to do for you? The things that are more called out are the laundry, dinner, and taking my dog out in the morning. So there are real applications that humans are thinking about these things could do for them. So that's coming. We're working on some of those some partnerships at Oracle that are directly that will directly impact that space. So that's something that we think is at the forefront. Although again, it doesn't look like it's that obvious, but also this infrastructure around agents. And we're talking about the fact that people are very excited about agents, but agents need a physical world to operate, either a system, either a program that handles a particular machinery, and having a protocol that allows humans to communicate and those agents to operate in any of those worlds is something that is not well developed yet. We're seeing some work towards that, some research. So we think that bridging the gap between agents and the physical world in which they want to operate is something that at the moment is taking a lot of attention, at least at Oracle.
Yeah, so very similar to what Gerson and you all shared. We're definitely seeing a lot of attention around agents. Not just agents as in one-off agents here and there, but agents to transform an end-to-end business process. So I sit on the enterprise side, right? So I don't deal with end consumers. I deal with businesses and enterprises. And all of a sudden, I would say in the last 3 months, we are seeing a lot of demand for end-to-end business process transformations using agents. So what does that even mean, right? It just means you take any traditional process, right? Whether it's lead to cash, procure to pay, things that you do in the back office on a daily basis. There's a lot of inefficiencies, right? It's error prone, it's labor intensive. There are hundreds of people sitting in back offices all around the world doing the same things over and over again. And we've done automation very successfully in the past, right? UiPath, Blue Prism, you guys have heard of that. But now we are seeing the shift where, it's no longer about automation, but it's about making those end-to-end processes agentic. So what does that mean? That just means you take any process, right? A lead to cash process, procure to pay, whatever the case may be, even a hiring process, and you agentify it, right? You insert AI into it, you agentify it, and all of a sudden you're seeing dramatic improvement, in efficiencies, reduction in labor, improvement in process velocity, which means you can do the same thing 100 times faster, and you don't need as many people, right? So labor, what probably needed 100 people to run, you can now run it with 10 people or less, right? Thanks to agents. Same applies to efficiency, same applies to velocity, right? What took you 100 days, you can do it in a few days now. So we're seeing a lot of that. And enterprises are realizing that this is going to save them billions of dollars, right? Not just hundreds of millions, but billions of dollars, because you could potentially take any process across your organization, right? End-to-end process and agentify it or put AI into it. So that is definitely a huge trend we are seeing. And then to their point, we are also seeing a lot of innovation, physical AI, right? Which is basically robotics and, robots doing all the jobs, whatnot. But I think the thing that I've seen having the most impact is agents transforming these business processes, right? Not one-off agent, like a shopping agent, travel agent. You're going to see a lot of that. But that's going to happen in the consumer side, right? We all probably have multiple agents that are doing things for us, like booking travel, doing shopping. You can just delegate that to an agent, headless agent, or with a screen or whatever, and those agents will go out there and do it for you, right? Find the best possible ticket to travel for you and your family to some destination somewhere, or maybe shop for whatever, right? And we are seeing, we say intent is the new UI or intent is the new interface, as in you can now, thanks to all these technologies, you can go from an abstract intent, customer intent, to a very well-defined, optimized, well-reasoned outcome. Like, for example, I can say, hey, I want to get a shoe for my teenage son, which is abstract. Or I can say something like, help me paint my house. And from that point on, it could be a chatbot, it could be whatever. You get a complete outcome, right? So you get you get everything you need to paint your house for your budget, your constraints, whatever. Same. If I want to buy a shoe for my teenage son, or I want to buy a bike for my daughter, whatever, from that intent all the way to an outcome, you can actually get to that point. You can throw constraints at it, like, price, color, whatever. And so the old school shopping, right, where you went from linear, like you browse for a bunch of things, you put it in a basket and you bought it. That days was over. It's no longer linear, right? Now you can do it super fast. You basically go tell the agent what you need. It then goes out there on your behalf, finds the best possible outcome, maybe even run your credit card and give it to you. So that's kind of where the world is going. And so it's opening up a lot of opportunities on the enterprise side and on the consumer side, because all of us in another few years will be dealing with all kinds of agents, hopefully a whole app store of agents that you can buy from and make our life easy. Whether it's the work you do, right? Typing emails, creating PowerPoints, doing analysis, research, they can all be delegated to agents. So we are in the, truly, I would say, in the world of agents, and it can only get better from here, right? And it's going to, create more job opportunities. There will be some jobs that will become obsolete, and there will be a lot of new jobs that will get created, right? Just like what we saw during .com. So yeah, I'm super excited about, living in the age of agents.
Awesome. I think that's it. Yeah.
I need to add something about what he said. It's extremely important. When he says agentize or getting something and making it in the form of an agent, is very important for everybody to understand here. We're not talking about hyper automation. A lot of people are talking about agents in the concept of, I'm going to automate this task or whatever. No. Automation is automation as it is, and will continue being like that. It might be a part of an agent workflow. We're talking about mechanisms that have the ability to plan and decide a path towards an outcome. That's a different story than an automated workflow. That is like, okay, do this for me and take step 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this is a mechanism that gets, okay, there's four steps, but you know what? I think that I can do a step number 1, and based on the outcome that I'm going to get there, I might jump to a step number 4 because the environmental conditions in this particular time allow me to do that. That's the difference here. And I'm going to communicate back to you and ask you, hey, it's okay that I jump a step number 2 and number 3 because I think that's irrelevant. Let's go to number 4. We're talking about a mechanism, like he says, that can do stuff on your behalf with your permission, but can plan for the best outcome. That's different than automation. We are on a new era of manifestation of computing when it comes to manage processes. And we need to understand that that's a big part. It's that part of planning. Later in the future is going to be that part of reasoning in which these mechanisms can decide, okay, this is what I know what you want to do. I understand what is it that you're trying to accomplish. Let me take care of that for you.
Yeah, and Gerson and I actually had dinner almost like a year ago at this point, and he mentioned to me that agents are going to take over. Everybody's going to be building agents, and that's exactly what we've seen actually very recently. Every time you go on the news, TechCrunch, somebody's building agents. So I'm super curious, and I think Yucheng will be great to start us off here. I'm super curious what you guys think. Is there any defensibility with all the startups that are building agents? And beyond that, what are the gaps or what are the infrastructure that is going to be needed to enable agents to really, go from step 1 to step 5?
Yeah, it's a problem I've kind of been mulling on for a while now, right? And I think I think ultimately it comes down to with our automation, for instance, right? What is an agent? I think it's perhaps the first question, right? And because there's a lot of people building agents, but what is a common? How do I compare someone's agent versus someone else's agent, right? All these different implementations, manifestations of it, right? I think about agents as being defined by by a few things. Right? What is the world it operates in? It needs to be able to create a goal, plan to it, and take actions within this world, right? And it's defined entirely by this four things. And of course, very important is what a space of actions it can take in some world, right? What is that world and what are the actions it can take, right? And so now that kind of defines a commonality which you can use to kind of think about how different agents, what they do, how they compare them against each other, right? And on that, then I think one can come down to essentially, okay, to define a world, what do I need to help an agent define a world, right? Is that access to my desktop? Is that direct access to the internet? Is that database access? Actions? What is a query space? What kind of things can it do, right? And then ultimately, using an agent is also a question of trust, right? And my model for a lot of kind of AI and ML and things like that really is, we should always ideally try to operate in a world that I think of trust but verify, right? We believe the agent, the model should be doing the right thing, but we trust it, but only to the extent that we are able to verify its actions, right? And so, how do you build a system end to end that permits all of this? And some of that is going to come down to simulation. Some of that is going to come down to just transparency. Right, before the agent does something, tell me what are you going to do before actually doing it, so you don't accidentally drop my user's database, right? So, among others, right? So,
yeah. So I want to add to what Yucheng said. So there's a lot of confusion, right? Even among my customers, Gerson mentioned this too, as to what is the difference between agent and automation, right? And people confuse it because sometimes what we see is, they create automation and think it's agentic. It's a problem, right? Like I see this every day. So, so my definition of agent is that it is a piece of software that can handle variability and complexity at scale, right? Agent is non-deterministic, adaptable, and it can teach itself. Now, automation or deterministic software can't do that, right? I know it's a very simple explanation. And it can reason and it has knowledge, right, at hyperscale, right? So, it can and self-learn, self-teach, whatever. So that's one point I wanted to make. The biggest impediment I see, right, is, I think Yucheng said it, is the lack of consistency on what is an agent, right? Anybody could come and define and create a bunch of software and call it an agent, right? There's no uniformity today, right? If you look at the agent anatomy, right, like the definition and structure of an agent, there is no uniformity, right? Microsoft has a version, right? They have their agent anatomy that you can build in Copilot Studio and Foundry. Google has it, AWS has it. Any developer can build an agent, right? And build a software and call it an agent. So that is that issue. I think what we need is convergence on the definition of an agent, right? An agreement among all of us as to what an agent is, whether you're a hyperscaler, a startup, or an individual developer. So that is one issue, right? Consistency in what is an agent. So we need to get to that. I don't think we have got to that point yet because it's still maturing. So there's nothing wrong with that. Second issue is when a chatbot hallucinates, right? When you have ChatGPT hallucinating, what's the worst that'll happen? It'll give you a bad answer, right? It'll say something incorrect, inappropriate, whatever. That's the worst that can happen. But when an agent hallucinates, it can be disastrous because it's acting on your behalf. It's doing something, right? Maybe it's running a nuclear power plant. Or maybe it's running your card and buying something super expensive, right? Or maybe it's booking travel. You meant economy, but it went and booked business class and burned 25K instead of 5K, right? So those are real possibilities with agents, right? And we're seeing that in the field. It's not, we are already seeing some of those things happen. So it needs to be guardrailed, right? You need to put proper structure around agents. And another issue is no interoperability, right? So I could build an agent, Gerson could build his own agent, somebody else could build agents. Because there is no uniformity and standardization, you can't interoperate these agents. And then one of the things my customers ask me to do is, hey, help me build this agent on platform A and migrate it to platform B and C. You can't do that, right? So for example, if I build an agent today in Azure, I can't simply take that and put it in Google or AWS, right? So interoperability is hard, portability is hard, and that's not good for enterprise customers. And for average customers like us, consumers, there is the risk that agents could go crazy, do something extremely harmful, especially health, right? I always think about health as an example where, let's say you have an agent that's managing your healthcare, guiding you, whatever, and it ends up giving you a wrong dosage of a medication or whatever. It can be disastrous, right? So those risks are very real. And, I don't think we have fully thought through what the guardrails are. And the last point I wanted to make is, the whole idea of an agent is it's a piece of software that's constantly learning and evolving, right? Which means it's updating itself, right? It's updating its knowledge, instructions, becoming more responsible over time. But then how do you modulate that, right? How do you know that it's learning and becoming better in a good way and not in a bad way, right? So it's a spectrum, right? Learning, we can all learn, but sometimes you take in a lot of wrong information and so you learn in the wrong direction, right? So there's still a lot of thinking that needs to happen in terms of how you control agents, how you define, how do you, what the right anatomy of an agent is, how do you make them interoperate, and how do you port them, right? And at the same time have a high degree of choice and flexibility, right? You want your agents to do different things, right? Whatnot. So there's a lot to be done here. In fact, I feel like there are lots of gaps right now. And for someone like me who deals with enterprise customers, we can't just leave these hanging, right? We need to address them, whether it's responsible AI, whether it's data, privacy, security. So we are doing what we can, but we know there are still gaps. And I'm sure, right, the ecosystem will address it. I'm sure we'll all figure it out, and over time this will mature, and it'll become a stable technology.
All right, so this has gone on the way of agents. How many of you have watched the movie The Matrix? All right, go watch it again today. Go back, or you can get a clip on YouTube. That moment when Morpheus is trying to explain Neo what the Matrix is, he takes some time after the lady on the red dress goes by on the street and Neo gets distracted. He takes some time to explain what an agent is. I found that the best definition of an agent that I have learned ever. So go back and listen to Morpheus talking about what an agent is. It's a lot of what we have seen here, but it's probably one of the most accurate definitions there. So yeah, gaps. I think everybody here is right. I'm gonna do an analogy with the travel agent. You talk to somebody, you wanna go to a nice place. Hopefully it's the Dominican Republic. I was born there. There's a lot of stuff to see there. So hopefully you wanna go there.
Let's go.
And you talk to a travel. Nobody does that anymore. But let's say that you talk to somebody that is managing that for you, and that person can operate on these systems that can basically give him some ideas, and he can connect with some people. He operates on that space of connections and links with other people over there, and he can do that fantastically for you. Now you're like, okay, well, but I'm gonna get there, but I don't know the space, and I don't want to be on a resort my entire trip. I want somebody to take me around, right? And the guy said, oh, I can do that, because he want to make the money, right? And he comes with you, but he doesn't know the country. So you get lost multiple times. You miss in multiple places because the guy, he is a travel agent. He operates greatly on the connections and the systems, but when you put him there on the ground in the Dominican Republic, he doesn't know anything. But you still give them a chance, and you're like, you know what? The water is so beautiful. And I always wanted to go skydiving. I'm not skydiving. I'm sorry. I always want to go diving here in the Caribbean. I know there are some beautiful reefs. I want to see the fish. And the guy goes, "Oh, I can do that." And you get on a boat with the guy, and when you get to the place, it's like, "Let me show you." And he does not put on the diving gear. He just jump in, and the guy almost died, because he forgot that he cannot go on the water without the special stuff. Same thing with agents. There is a physical world in which these things are going to operate. It's either on your phone, in your computer system, or maybe it's in your machinery. Maybe it's a piece of software that you put on your machinery to assemble shoes, or maybe bottle water or whatever, soda, Coca-Cola. They're doing an implementation of agents now to help them move some stuff from within the production process. So there needs to be an understanding from these mechanisms. If you're thinking about building an agent, you need to know really well the physical world in which that agent is going to operate, and the fact that there isn't at the moment for all this world, there isn't the right equipment, the right infrastructure to allow that agent to operate effectively in that world. So you need to know the world, you need to know the limitations. There's a huge set of limitations because this thing is evolving. The other part, like Anoop said, is the communication in between these things. It's very likely that one agent won't be able to operate in multiple worlds. So if you will need an agent that communicates with other agents to do certain things, like, hey, I got these customers want to go to Dominican Republic. I don't know the space. Can you do that for me? But that guy over there speaks Spanish, I speak English. We need to find a common ground to talk. It's the same thing. These agents, you have one on the machinery piece and you have one on your computer. How they talk. Well, there is an evolution right now on that part. People are trying to figure out how do we go beyond APIs, and some of you have heard about MCPs and these servers that you put in the middle and then they can communicate. It's the same as we're developing a society inside computers and devices of mechanisms that can not only do stuff on your own, but can talk to each other, can understand stuff, and those protocols that we have in society here, the operational protocol as a human, will need to come down to this space of agency. It's not ready there yet. So if you're building an agent, you might find some of this stuff. Don't get discouraged, but the gaps are profound now. We're gonna get there, but you gotta keep that in mind, that your agent might not be able to operate in all the worlds that is needed.
Absolutely. We're gonna have time for maybe one or two audience questions here in a second. I'm gonna ask one more question. So, speaking about gaps, what do you guys see as the biggest opportunities for startups that maybe gaps that enterprises are not able to fill because red tape, or maybe they're not incentivized to build?
Oh, you would like the answer to
He's thinking about what to build next.
All right, so I'm going to start real quick. Areas in which you can, if you're building AI stuff, we are seeing a tremendous desire for AI agents, generative AI, automation in a couple of spaces. Number one, product design and development, and I'm not talking about developing only product in terms of computers, but people who are building shoes, people who are building all sort of things. This idea of having AI accelerating the product design, ideation, and the development on it, the sourcing of the materials for certain products, and the understanding of the supply chain, and being able to accelerate the development of a product from all the way from the ideation and the design to the development of the product itself, either software or a physical product. It's in a space that is needing a lot of attention right now, and there are many people working on that. So if you have knowledge of product design, sourcing, product development acceleration, and ideation, you can make a lot of money there if you go into any of those spaces now with AI. All the data is available. All the information is available. Just need a couple of minds to start going after that. And the other side, it's that we're seeing a lot of attention, it's public transportation. You will see it's a lot of stuff in defense and public services, but public transportation, it's gathering a lot of attention now, and there are many people going after that. So keep that in mind. And my near and dear to my heart, I told Pablo, you need to find a couple of companies to invest on it. It's robotics. You'll see a lot of that. Again, the banks want each of us to have a robot at home to do our laundry, do our stuff, and those robots are going to have basically in a space for you to buy a skill. Oh, I want my robot today to learn to cook French cuisine or Italian cuisine, whatever. So you'll be able to develop any of those skills and put it there, and somebody will be able to go to an Apple store and buy that. So keep that in mind, because that's coming, and it's coming soon.
Yeah, so yes, similar sentiments like Gerson, but I think if you're sitting on some niche data, right, it could be whatever, right? It could be healthcare data, it could be something that's your secret sauce, right? Data that nobody else has or has in limited quantities, right? Then you have an opportunity to build an agent or AI for that matter on top of that, right? It could be you could potentially build the world's greatest AI to monitor farms, right? Agriculture products or whatever. You could build AI to, I mean, there's endless possibilities, but the key is, if it's data that's available to everybody, then there is not much of a secret sauce, because if you think about it, right, the models are becoming easier and easier to acquire. You can just call an API and you can have the best models. So it's not the models. I think it's the data. And it could be industry, it could be some function. So anywhere you see niche data and you see an opportunity to unlock value from the data, that's a sweet spot. So if you're a startup, if I had a startup, that's probably what I'll do. I'll go into healthcare, I'll go and build an AI or agent that can help with some diagnosis, maybe help a physician. Maybe I'll build a physician co-pilot or a physician agent that can help with all kinds of things, right? The interaction with the patient, everything that happens in the with the patient, right? And then listen to the patient's symptoms and have this agent recommend a potential path. And then as a doctor, I can decide whether I want to override it or take its advice, right? So some sort of a physician advisor, whatever. Same thing applies to anybody, any professional, right? If you're an engineer or a or a teacher, have an agent to help you do your job better. So again, niche data, building agents and AI on that data. So that's one huge opportunity. Second is building these, if there is a process that you're really familiar with, right? Could be whatever, you could potentially build a process accelerator, right? Like an agent-led process accelerator, and you can sell that to enterprises, right? So, let's say supply chain, right? All large enterprises of supply chain. Now, let's say you figure out how to create a great agent for supply chain process, end-to-end supply chain process, whether it's inbound or outbound, and you convert that into an accelerator, and you go to a customer and say, hey, I know you're doing supply chain the old school, old-fashioned way, right, using automation, whatever. I can help you do it better, and here's the business case for that, right, hundreds of millions of savings, whatever, and you can sell that. So again, could be supply chain, it could be anything. I'm just picking on one example. So those are very real opportunities in the enterprise space. And then finally, going back to what Gerson was saying, in the physical AI world, where you can put AI in refrigerators, microwave ovens, whatever, right? There's an opportunity to build smarter refrigerators or software for making your refrigerator smarter. So as an example, you can have an AI that's constantly monitoring your refrigerator and ordering food for you, replenishing the refrigerator without you actually having to do anything. You run out of milk, it automatically gets milk, and somebody delivers milk and you put it in the refrigerator, or you run out of eggs, whatever. Like day-to-day consumer products, right? The AI could just look at everything in your refrigerator and recommend a meal plan for you, right? Again, very rudimentary examples, but those are all possibilities, right? And I think we are going to think of a lot of things that nobody ever imagined, right? Like it's hard to sit here and figure out exactly what it's going to do. So, so get creative, right? Think about like reimagine things, right? reimagine the way you teach, reimagine the way you treat a patient, reimagine the way you engineer something or construct a building or whatever using AI and agents. And I don't know how it's going to totally look like, but there is a big possibility there, right? So for all the folks here who are doing startups, if you can reimagine a process, a product, or whatever using AI and agent, you have something in your hands. That reimagination is your secret sauce using agent AI. So I think there is, trillions. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying it, but Gartner and Forrester and all are saying it, right? There are trillions of dollars to be made in the next couple of years. Trillions. I mean, if not 5-6 trillions, right? Using AI and agents. So the market, there's huge opportunity. And you just need to have a secret sauce. You need to have something unique that people can't easily replicate. That's it. The models are available. Anybody can access the LLMs, right? The latest and greatest models are all available to all of you. There's nothing there. You just need to be creative and have something that's going to add value, for customers. That's as simple as that.
Did they give you some ideas on what to build?
Maybe. But I think to double down on, I think some of what has been said, right? I think as a startup, I think your moat cannot be model, because models are commodity. Your moat cannot be prompt engineering, because that's also commodity. But your moat has, but one of the best moats is data, which no one else has, right? So and another one which I think seeing more startups going into now is into more traditional industries, right? Industries for which even in the classical ML space, classical AI space, it's a bit finicky, but now with agents, it's actually possible to automate and support a lot of their older business processes, right? And do that, right? So that's kind of another mode, which is just straight up familiarity of a space which is maybe a little bit off the typical marketing, ad automation, those kinds of tasks, right? In the sense, kind of like all these agent and AI things will embed and will get into almost every industry. So the question is, what are the industries which exist opportunities today? Yeah, and yeah. For me, I'm an infrastructure builder, so I prefer to build for companies who want to do this, and for that, I'm still kind of on the observing side, trying to figure out, hey, what is it that these people who are building agents, what is it that they need, and that I'm still on the observing, at least for me, on the observing side of things.
This is going to be a little bit abstract, but probably one of the most important things that you should think about, you take from, everything is important, but one of the biggest expenditures cost, if not the biggest cost that companies and people incur today in whatever they're doing in their personal life and running a company, is the premium that we pay for knowledge. It's huge. The fact that you all have jobs is because of what you know, and the companies need to pay for your knowledge. It's a high premium that we're paying for it, companies and people. AI has the possibility to lower the premium that companies are paying for that knowledge in multiple ways, and therefore accelerating their path to revenue and to profits by lowering that, by making people smarter to do stuff faster, by accelerating their operation, by getting individuals to be able to do stuff without having to learn their systems or to learn the job itself, but operating in the world that they know. So if you're building something, if you go build something with AI, think about that. Is what you're building directly impacting the premium that companies or people are paying for knowledge? When you go out and you take an Uber, when you take a taxi, you might be paying a piece for the transportation, but a big piece that you're paying is for that person knowing where to take you in the city and around. You're paying for that. When people are paying for you to do stuff in accounting or programming or whatever, they're not paying for the programming piece, for the code and whatever. They're paying for your brain that is coming in at that time and doing that stuff for them. Knowledge has a huge premium it represents a huge premium of operation for everybody. Anyone who build AI applications that will take that premium down is going to make the $1 trillion that AI has to offer. So think about that. How you tap into that particular gap, into that particular opportunity, lowering the premium that people and companies pay for knowledge.
So I want to add one thing to what Gerson said, right? I want to distill what you were trying to say in one sentence, right? Which is human plus AI will always be greater than human or AI on its own, right? And if you're not using AI, you're at a disadvantage because your colleagues who are using AI are, gaining an advantage. It's a fact. They're probably writing better emails. They're probably creating better PowerPoints, right? It's so you don't have a choice, right? And if you, for whatever reason, resist using AI, you lose out in the long run, right? So again, human plus AI will always be greater than human or AI on its own. And just AI, it's not going to work, right? You have to bring the human intuition, reasoning to AI to make it, to amplify the impact. So just distilling what you were saying. And so I feel like if you're not using AI right now, you're at a disadvantage, right? Like ChatGPT can give you lots of information that, you can't get otherwise. And so, you're at a disadvantage if you don't use AI.
So use AI or you're going to be replaced. So we'll take one or two questions. I saw this hand up first.
All right, great. Hey, Chooks here. I just want to touch on one of the things you said, right? Also one of the things you said as well, right? So in the past we had humans, right? Today we're in the first inning of humans and AI. In the future, you see where this is going, right? We have AI and AGI. Do you all spend some time thinking about what happens to, humanity in terms of disruptions, right? Because we're getting there, right? This morning I spent some time with a good friend of mine on Microsoft, and one of the things I told her was, Microsoft as a company, I'm not sure how many folks they have today. Microsoft 10 years from now could probably run with probably less than 10,000 people or less and make more money and be more valuable than what it is today. So in terms of disruptions, right, do you all spend some time thinking about that? What are your thoughts, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we as hyperscalers at Oracle think about all the time. And we talk about this conversation of human in the loop, but we say, okay, it's easy to go and say, yeah, human in the loop, and then tomorrow people get laid off because they're doing AI and we haven't done anything about that. So it undeniably that there will be situations in which humans are going to be replaced, not because the machines are better itself, but because humans have not adapted to what society is moving to. And that happens not only now, we have that and many times in history. It's just that now the acceleration it's at a pace that we might not be able to catch up unless we start right away, right? So we're thinking that there will have to come a couple of things when we get to that point that you are thinking in the future. Public policies that guarantee that there are some form of safety net. That's probably going to be the latest one because politicians are always late for everything, not only in this country but everywhere. So we're not waiting for them to put a framework that will guarantee that people are taken care of. We should not. But on the other part of the thing, what balance that, it's the education, the right education towards what society is going to be, the education of the upskilling of the workers right now and for the future. And what is in the middle is what we are trying to do at Oracle. We're trying to do that on our application side right now, which is we're going to bring AI inside the application to help upskill people as they do their work. So they don't have to spend a bunch of time focusing on AI, but by doing their work, they're going to start learning all these technologies and get better at what they're doing. And we're seeing results. For example, we put a GPT inside of our ERP system, and people now who probably didn't have the time to play with ChatGPT or any of that, when they are creating invoices, when they're creating items, when they're creating a job description, they get in front of these things as part of their application, and they're like, oh, okay, now I know what it means content generation or summarization or any of these type of things. So it's part of their work. So what we are trying to do is to blend AI into what people do on a regular basis, so it becomes part of their life, and then they can do not only better at work, but they can spend time on what they are really good at. Accounting, managing people, whatever they're good at, and we have seen an elevation in what people do on that regard. That's what we can do the most, and that's what we're thinking. We hope that at some point we can influence the public policy. We're not sure where that will go, but at some point, I hope that there will be some sort of, and I'm not talking about regulation, but some sort of public policy that will think about what will be a future in which people that might not caught up with the technology can still make a living, a decent living for their families. But that hasn't been resolved yet, for sure.
I think also rooted in this question perhaps is also a question of a conception of that. I don't think there is a reason to believe that AGI is necessarily superhuman, right? In the same sense that human plus human is better than one human, right? Largely because they have different knowledge sets, different mental, think differently, and so on. In the sense, human plus AGI will necessarily be better than AGI alone or better than human alone, right? And so, right, I think they expect that. I don't think for certain classes of jobs, AGI will just simply make the human significantly more productive. Right, and it's not necessarily going to take away anything. Now there will certainly be certain classes of jobs in which AGI may take over, and I think that goes back to historical automation. Automation always takes away jobs, right? But in the same way that also creates new jobs. So just in the historical trend of things over thousands of years, I am optimistic about the long trend. But I don't know what is the new class of jobs that will be created.
So I have 2 points that I want to make, right? So one is a very, very long-term view, which is, I think, and I'm an optimist, so I think the world will be a lot better with AI. But I also think that, long term, it's going to accelerate evolution, right? We've all been, human species has been evolving, and we've all evolved over millions of years, right? At a certain rate, right? With human plus AI, now is it inorganic evolution? I don't know, but it could be organic plus inorganic. So it's maybe human plus AI will rapidly increase the rate of evolution, right? Where to Yucheng's point, right? Whether it's AGI plus human, AI plus human, whatever, the human species will progress at a rapid rate, right? Towards, whatever you want to call the final destination is, right? It'll help us become a multi-planetary species. It'll go, help us understand a lot more that we haven't fully figured out, whether it's basic physics, chemistry, right? Who knows what else is out there, right? Maybe figure out quantum mechanics at a much more deeper level, maybe invent and discover new all kinds of things, subatomic particles, right? Maybe new state of matter, who knows? I think it's going to do that. But without AI, what would have taken us maybe 1 million years, with AI will probably take us, I don't know, hopefully 8,000 years, maybe less, right? So that's the long-term view. Short-term view, you said Microsoft will have 10,000 people, right? You said it could have 10,000 people doing the same thing. maybe, but AI will also open up a lot of new possibilities, right? Yes, it's going to take away a lot of jobs, but it's also going to create a lot of new set of jobs, which we can't fully imagine right now. We don't know how it's going to look like, but it's going to unleash a lot of new types of jobs. Like I said, as you reimagine process, product, the way we live, a lot of things with AI and agents, it's going to spark new things. A whole new class of jobs, a whole new class of things for all of us to do. What I'm hoping will happen is it will take a lot of boredom out of our life, right? The boring nature of, like creating lots of documents and cutting and pasting spreadsheets, a lot of things that none of us want to do, it's going to take that away from us, right? Because AI is going to do all of that for us. So it will take hopefully it will take a lot of boring things out of our life and give us more interesting things to do. Now, what those things are, we don't know. So to your question, yes, Microsoft could have less number of jobs, more people, but it will also create a lot of new jobs. And it's hard to fully envision what those jobs will look like, but it's going to be a lot more interesting. It won't be boring for sure. So I think, to summarize, one, it's going to accelerate, evolution of our species. Hopefully give us more things to discover, invent, learn about ourselves and the world around us and the universe. And then two, create a whole class of new jobs for our next generation and subsequent generations.
30 seconds. I have an example for that, very near and dear to my heart. My son is a biochemist, just got out of school in California, came here, got a job at the Allen Institute here. They're doing cancer research. So they're playing with mouse and doing whatever they do there that I don't know, but it has to do with cells composition and stuff. He's a brand new tech. And they have a part of the Allen Institute they developed their own LLM to gather knowledge and provide information to across the institute. So my son the other day came to me and said, you know what, we had a chat and I've been using it constantly, and my boss told me that what I know now, previous technician will have taken probably around a year or 2 years to gather that same knowledge. This is a real stuff. It's my son. So AI in his case augmented his knowledge from a couple of months, a year ago that he came from California, accelerated what he knew about this particular cell composition in a ways that probably would have taken a year, 2 years to learn. That's an example in which AI is elevating this person and probably will get him faster to his objectives rather than just replacing him.
Give it up for our panel. Sorry, we don't have time for any more questions.